Hey traders, checking into the stock market today. Bulls continue to grind higher as we test some very key resistance levels. There are only one of two things that are going to happen in the short term. Let's lay it out. All right, so S&P 500 and the NASDAQ continue to push higher, and we've got the resistance level. We're either going to confirm a daily trend change and be at the highest levels that we've seen in over 3 weeks, or we're going to reject from resistance and remain range bound. The bulls are comfortable in the short term, knowing that even if we reject, we do have a good bit of space for the potential of a higher low to form. You can feel day by day there's a bit of a sentiment shift taking place, at least that's the way I feel, as our lead bulls, who have been positioned well, break out of tightening ranges, even though the broader markets are still in these tightening ranges. So watching very close to all our clues, a lot of them we're going to look in on, and I am bullish as long as the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, the ETF, SPY, and QQQ, as long as they have an hourly uptrend, I am a bull. Because we're either going to lose the hourly uptrend and then I take a step back and shift and pivot my mindset and my directional bias, or we keep the hourly uptrends and we break resistance. So it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but probably tomorrow, one of those two things is going to happen. So we can see on the futures chart, we got a lot of space for a 4-hour higher low to form next consolidation. And looking in on SPY, I'd call anything above the low of today an hourly higher low. And it was just one of those days where bulls controlled the morning and then just grinded higher with 15-minute higher lows the entirety of the day. And there were periods where we had all of our major sectors at the highs at the same time. And if we look at the NASDAQ compared to SPY, we're right there, testing the strongest levels that we've seen in the last month in terms of relative strength. And again, I want the NASDAQ leading if I'm going to believe the bulls. And the last 3 days it's been leading and I've been believing the bulls. So NASDAQ is the same thing. Its resistance is a bit closer. So just looking at SPY in comparison, I was going to talk about psychedelics. Surprised Fidelity is on top of it, but they are. So we got SPY resistance is just over 1% away. And we look at QQQ, and that resistance is just under 1% away. So just a little bit closer. We came real close today, less than $1 away from that resistance test. Anything above the low of today is an hourly higher low. That's my guide. If we're in an hourly uptrend, I'm bullish and I'm looking to buy hourly higher lows. If we lose the hourly uptrend, I take a step back, I reassess the situation, and I shift my game plan. Because my game plan right now is playing the stronger names bullish. So, from there, semiconductors, bounce follow through. Anything under 218.81 is a daily lower high. So I am still watching. I'm not trying to short this sector while we're seeing this strength. If I start to see signs of weakness in the broader market, then I'm looking for the daily lower high on SMH. So I'm not going to play counter the bulls as long as SPY and QQQ are in an hourly uptrend. The only bearish positions I'll be taking are looking to hedge. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I'll talk about that right now. So I've only had long exposure overnight for all this week. And that's with my SPY long-term no touch. That's with my MSOS swing position. So no bear positions. Back when I was less confident in direction, I would be protecting myself overnight with some small leveraged short positions, SQQQ or whoever. So what I do on a daily basis, today I wasn't full-time trading. I was just in for the morning and then leaving for a few hours midday. So I said, all right, well, I only have long exposure, so I'm looking for a spot where I can make a bearish entry for some potential protection. I'm not just going to buy bearish and walk away. I'm going to position myself as a trader in a scenario. And so I looked at this 5-minute stair step and I said, I'm going to enter bearish when this 5-minute stair step breaks. I'm going to put my stop over the high of the day, and that's going to be my protection position. After that 5-minute candle, I took a third off because of the size of that pullback. So now that I've taken a third off, I'm pretty much risk-free. I stick my stop over the high and I stop out. But I didn't lose anything, and my bullish positions continued to benefit from the strength that we saw today. So that's the mindset that I'm looking at. Bearish, that's how I will trade bearish while we are in a SPY and QQQ uptrend. I did miss out on biotech bulls today because I was a little bit unsure that we were going to see continuation. The reason being the relative weakness from yesterday, which worked really well for the short, but I didn't like making a morning entry with where we were positioned. In the end, the bulls held on just fine, but at the end of the day, we did see a lot of relative weakness. If you look at what SPY was doing during this period of time, it's going up and hitting the high of the day. And the biotech sector keeps pulling back. And then we absolutely dumped into the end of the day. When I am trading a setup, I am extra cautious into the end of the day. The last 30 minutes is where things can get extra extreme. So you see the 5-minute back burner here, first oversold conditions, but that RSI dropped all the way down to 20. Granted, a V-shaped bounce, very significant. I scaled in too early for this, and I scaled out too early, but it still ended up being a nice little day maker into the end of the day. But it's just a reminder for myself, look at the time, because the same setup for me is not the same at noon as it is at 3:30. They're different beasts. Different animals, I guess is the phrase. They can be beasts. Tesla, let's look at our 2-day equilibriums that we've been watching for a long time. Tesla is up at resistance, 756. So we're either going to break 756 or we're going to lose the hourly uptrend. And again, there's a scenario where that neither could take place tomorrow. For example, say we pull back, set an hourly high or low at 712, bounce a little bit, end the day. That's possible. So we don't have to see one or the other happen tomorrow, but the hourly uptrend is our guide as we're watching this very key resistance level. Google, bull break, 2372. Not convincing. We need to take out 2387 behind it, which we have not done, but we can say Google is testing the highest level in over a month. And if we break 2387, we will be at the highest level in 2 months. And again, that's notable to me. I look back and make that statement because that helps tell me, well, anybody that shorted Google in the last 2 months will then be underwater. And again, it's just the scales tilting between supply and demand. And right now they're leveling. Demand was outweighing. Let's try it again. Supply of shares was outweighing demand. And then we based around and we did this with the scales while we're tightening up. And now the scale is very close to doing this. So watching that key resistance, and the other was Amazon, it has not broken yet. 118, pulled back $1 under that level today. So if Google breaks bull and Amazon does not, that's a red flag for bulls. We want full steam ahead, everything breaking bull. We want all this puzzle pieces to align. We want as many tallies in the bull column as possible. Again, I'm looking at the broader market and saying the broader market has had a really bullish week while the dollar has had a really bullish week. The 10-year had a really bullish 2 days on this bounce. So as a bull, I'm looking at this and saying this is a good thing because the bounce and the dollar strength and the 10-year bounce is not negatively impacting markets. So the next time the dollar consolidates or the 10-year consolidates, in my opinion, that can only further help bulls. So the negative aspect is not hurting bulls, and watching to see if dollar consolidation helps these bulls break this key resistance that we are testing. Our other lead bulls, Baba, upper wick, bear with me. No COVID. Testing negative every day, but something. So Baba did see hourly consolidation for most of the day, but Baba hit the highest level today in, let's see, we hit 125 last time we were up there, mid-February. So the highest level in 4.5 months. Again, that is notable. This is essentially what's taking place on the Google and Amazon daily 2-day time frame. This is the weekly version of it. Daily higher lows remain our clear guide. Baidu does not have a clear break, so taking that into account as well, Baidu has to get over 158.63 to join. Other Chinese name, NIO. This has been throwing me off big time, which means I'm not trading it. And that's A-okay. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, oh man, NIO up 8%. I missed it. I coulda, I woulda, I shoulda. But I look at that and say, NIO has given me zero clarity the last 4 days as it dumps huge and bounces huge and dumps huge and bounces huge. That is not my edge as a trader. So there is absolutely no lament or FOMO because this is not my setup in terms of how this has been playing out. But it's a potential weekly bull flag at this point. LI is another Chinese EV name. That's a lot more clear. Those are daily higher lows right off EMA 12, grinding up towards the recent high. So Chinese names looking pretty good. And again, they're positioned well if the broader market sees strength. The broader market has bounced while it is remaining range bound. And Baba, at least one example of a name breaking range and leading the way. Healthcare. So I look at this, and again, this is a good sign for me. Because I look at the S&P 500 up 1.5%, and I say, well, our lead bull general, the healthcare sector, as far as our major sectors are concerned, was only up 0.42%. It was other names picking up the slack. Of course, the NASDAQ, but IWM, XLF, they have had relative weakness recently. Was that yesterday? It was. So yesterday, our relatively weaker names are helping push higher today, and our relatively stronger name taking a little breather, little daily inside bar. So 130.59 is a resistance level that must break. It's a triple top, but I can say if XLV breaks this resistance level, it is going to help the S&P 500 break its daily resistance. So that shows me rotation. It's not just one sector doing all the heavy lifting. XLV takes a breather and is only up 0.4%. Our weaker names, IWM, up 2.4%. So that's what a bull wants to see as well, that rotation going on. XLF, as I mentioned, has to pick a side. And today, we had a 4-day range here, so today it obviously picked the bull side. And that's another key aspect. Can we break 32.87? SPY will break first. QQQ will break first. Can XLF bring up the rear and break 32.87 to help everything push further? Because if XLF does not break 32.87 and SPY breaks its resistance, I am not going to anticipate follow through on SPY. XLF has to join for that follow through. IWM heading up towards resistance, 178.15. So again, this is what I do every morning in the first 15 minutes. As you Chart Guys members know, as I'm live streaming, who's breaking the high of the day? Is everybody breaking their high? Are only some names? Who's the lead bull? Who's the lead bear? So that's what I do on the 5-minute time frame, the 2-minute time frame to start the day. We're doing it on the daily. Who's going to lead? All right, we're seeing QQQ leading. Is everybody going to reject from resistance? Are some names going to break resistance and some names are going to reject? Or are our leaders going to break and then the laggards are going to break for significant follow through? So I would say, just looking at how things stand, if we're going to see resistances break, it's going to be QQQ first, SPY second, IWM third. Well, XLV doesn't have as clear resistance. It's right there. Let's start over. QQQ and XLV break first, SPY second, IWM third, and XLF would be the last to break, in my opinion, unless there's a notable shift tomorrow. But that's where the current setup is. So we have to ensure everybody breaks if we're going to see follow through. And if we're going to put pressure on shorts, right now shorts are saying, wait a minute. Again, every green day, it's just, wait a minute. Is this bounce going to be? And you'll always have people saying, this is just a bear market rally. That's fine. Doesn't matter. There's still opportunity. Call it whatever you want. This is essentially, for me, this is bulls trying to negate a weekly bear flag. I still will consider, even if everything breaks bull, I will still consider anything under 417 on SPY, just a weekly lower high. And at that point, we would likely need to see an inverse head and shoulders shape up. But it's all about the daily first. That's all I care about, the daily and the hourly. So other names, MSOS, still grinding higher. I've been trading a little bit around my position. As I mentioned yesterday, I went over what I did. Today, I saw the double top at 1140 on the morning, and we just got stuck at that level all morning. So I exited. I meant to exit half my position. Typo. Hit the wrong number. So I exited 30%, which is a good thing because I was exiting at 1132, and we closed higher than that. So I'm down to a 70% position. Oh man, this math. It's going to be hard for me to do this math. My average was 1050 after the first flip. If I sell 30% at 1130, let's say, oh boy. 247. taken off at least 30 cents of my average. So break even is now down under 1020 on what I have remaining, which has me very comfortable. But we're not seeing increasing bull volume. This is a red flag for me. We need more volume than this. Key resistance is 1172. And of course, we're going to need the daily trend change as well. But I'm not being convinced from the bulls right now, or by the bulls. I said yesterday that I'll do an MJ video, which I will, but I'm cutting down my content because of my throat. So this weekend, I will do a cannabis-specific video covering all the sector and all the psychedelics, because these psychedelics, as I talked about yesterday, look at CMPS breaking out. Now it is over 100% off of its low. ATAI following through. Again, this is showing me risk on. We're seeing these low cap, little penny stock psychedelic sector up 100%, bottoming before the broader market. So that is notable. Just reading TCNNF News, which is a U.S. cannabis. I think they're just amending a previous filing. Double check that. First it looked like dilution, but I don't think so. Anyways, all right, psychedelics out of the way. Dollar is still very strong. Daily inside bar, we're up at the highs. If this breaks bear, it's going to help bulls, in my opinion. So keeping an eye out for that inevitable daily consolidation, and then we'll just look for a daily high or low. The metals are still very weak. Trying to bounce, but not going anywhere as long as the dollar is at the highs. Again, we are tick for tick inverse with the dollar on these metals. Oil got a bounce going. And that's not surprising. I'm watching this channel just as a little visual guide. And so I looked at XLE and said, I'm backing off bearish XLE today. Reason being, I forget. Let's see what I said. Watching for the potential. So I was looking for the potential of biotech sector daily consolidation and energy sector bounce. Obviously, we did not see biotech sector consolidation, but the energy sector bounce, I was just looking at, going to my morning thoughts. So watching for an XLE daily bounce attempt and XBI potential daily consolidation. So wrong about XBI, but the XLE bounce was, I forget why, what stood out. We didn't change the hourly trend bullish yet. Probably just oil being extended. Anyways, energy sector's bouncing. I'm scouting a daily lower high. Anything under 76.99 is just a daily lower high. So I'm keeping an eye out. If I see a shift, if we lose hourly uptrends on SPY and QQQ, and I want some bear exposure, whether it's overnight or whether it's just for day trades, I will be watching XLE and SMH for daily lower highs. They will be names that I choose unless we continue to see glaring correlation shift, but they are in the crosshairs for now. So oil, just looking at anything under 111.45 as a daily lower high. Fairly significant bounce at this point. Bulls will have to regain a daily uptrend. Remember, the energy sector was bouncing off monthly EMA 12. That was one factor. And we are looking for oil to give us a monthly high or low as well. But need a daily uptrend as baby step number one for a monthly high or low to try and form. All right, that's where we stand. Key resistance tests in play. Bitcoin is already at resistance right now. 21.9 is a double top, but look at this chart. Bitcoin divided by NASDAQ. We have been range bound for 10 days with nothing changing. Sideways just shows us we're just doing the exact same thing as the broader market. But the bull break is showing me a bit of a risk on mindset. So if this Bitcoin divided by NASDAQ chart, again, it's a balancing of the scales. Clear downtrend, level out, balancing of the scales, and if this breaks bull, it's going to show me some risk on mindset. And the miners today, MARA up 24%. So again, risk on mindset in a lot of places. The question is, will those going risk on regret it, or will they get follow through? I am bullish as long as we're in hourly uptrends on SPY and QQQ. Keep it simple. Do good things.
We're hitting peak flower season. Ooh, somebody ate some beets. Bit overgrown, but letting all these volunteer tomatillos do their thing. A lot of zucchini the past few days. Lots of green beans I have to harvest. Tomatoes doing better than previous years. The blight is not as bad. You can see the zinnias are exploding. I just learned I can do a whole nother round of these. So I'm going to be harvesting things like this garlic. You can see the garlic's all died off. This is not garlic. This is all garlic that I'm going to harvest right now. And weed this bed, leave the onions because they're not dead yet. And then I'll put in a bunch of flowers there. Got some new solar lights that I'm playing with. Harvest the carrots today and put some flowers there. This is winter squash. It's going to climb up. I don't know what kind. Maybe acorn? Looks like an acorn. Harvest all the beets and the radishes. Put flowers there. Potatoes, I'll harvest those. They're not fully dead yet, so they'll probably be another week. But then I'll harvest those. And there's some watermelons here, bitter melons I should say. There's a good number of those, so I'll just let those keep going. And put in some more flowers. Next thing you know, it'll be fall. Another round of greens here, but they're fairly slow. Collards and chard. Then we'll do a round in the greenhouse. And that'll be that. Duck Duck. Living up to its name.